Today I'm in my studio. I'm doing some mending. I'm mending some holes in a pair of socks. I have my darning mushroom, which is an old antique one that I've had for many years. And I'm going to talk briefly while I do this about no spend challenges, because my life has become a bit of a no spend challenge, if I'm honest with you. When I first came to the Northwest, which was 8 years ago now, I decided to have a no spend challenge on clothes. I knew I didn't need any more. I'm not really a fashion buyer. Once I've bought something, I like to wear it until it falls to pieces. And when I first moved up here, I didn't have anywhere to live. I'd taken on my first design studio. It was an office space in a shared building, so I had other expenses to worry about. And I didn't want to spend any money unnecessarily. So I decided to have a no-spend year. That was 2015. And I was also moving quite a lot. I was trying out different house shares and they weren't working because you end up living with nutters, and I'm not very good with living with other people anyway. It doesn't work out very well for me. So I was constantly moving, so having lots of stuff was just an absolute nightmare. So I had minimalised a lot to move up to this area. And so I got very used to just not buying stuff. I would buy if I really needed something. So if I did need a new winter coat when I arrived. And although I did get that cheap from the high street, as a general rule, when I want something, I now go to somewhere like eBay and I'll buy second hand. And some of the things that I've bought over the last 8 years have all been second hand, and I still have them. So I did this no spend year, and I completely lost my interest in shopping. It was like a detox, like, I don't know, giving up alcohol or drugs or sugar or whatever it is that feeds you and keeps you hooked. And I never ended that no buy challenge. So like I said, if I need something, I will buy it. I've bought some walking boots in the last few years. I've bought a smart winter coat because mine's getting a bit tatty now. And I bought them second hand on eBay for very little money. I've had to repair things since, but I like repairing stuff. I like to fix the stuff I already own and to keep on using it. So yeah, I got out of the whole shopping thing, and I just have no interest in it. Every so often I'll get the urge to go and have a bit of a window shop, and I'll wander around, I don't know, the high street. If I'm going into Manchester or something, I'll go around the Arndale or something, just have a little window shop. But I never see things that I want. I just don't need stuff. I've just lost all interest in it. Most of my frugal living is purely about money. But the knock-on effect has also been environmental. You know, cutting back on what food I buy, how much water I use, how often I drive the car. It has environmental knock-on effects, and I think my carbon footprint's pretty low. But though, for me, that's a secondary issue, because for me the most important thing is just not spending the money. I'm always looking for creative ways to DIY something, to not have to spend the money on a full price version of something. I'm really big on make, do and mend, because I just like to keep the things I already own. I mean, look, if I can just do a little bit of sewing that gets rid of a couple of holes in a pair of socks, it means I can wear those socks again for, you know, another 6 months. Why not? Because otherwise these will end up in landfill, because there aren't many other places that you can dispose of textiles effectively in this country. You know, we're all quite obsessed about recycling, but we don't have very good recycling facilities here. We don't make the most of what we have. It costs more to recycle a glass bottle into a new glass bottle than it does to make a brand new one. So I'm amazed that we do it at all, because at the end of the day everything comes down to money. If recycling was a money-making industry, people couldn't get enough of it. But because it isn't, because it doesn't make huge profits, it's very difficult to get started. It's difficult for it to get a foothold. And it's a shame, because we are absolutely drowning in stuff and rubbish and unwanted things, and we don't seem to be able to get a grasp on it. And I think all of it comes down to money, really. So there we are. I'm going to have a sock with no holes in it, and the holes in socks are so irritating. So that's that little task done. I'm also trying to finish a couple of dresses. You can see one here. This is the sort of thing that I make. But the weather's been a bit cold and a bit depressing, and I've not really been into it. Temperatures are going up, and that is helping. I'm not having to wear quite so many layers. I've only got 3 jumpers on today. But the sunshine and the bright blue sky really helps the creativity in a way that it's like a really overcast, wet, really windy day today. And although the temperatures aren't that bad, the wind is really biting. I was out this morning and it's really cold. So I might get on with some dress work later, or I might not. I really got into a frugal lifestyle because of being self-employed, because when money is tight or money is irregular, you have to find ways around it. And you get used to not spending on stuff, really. I don't need it anymore, so that's fine. But it's a weird juxtaposition of emotions, really, because I'm self-employed and because of what I do. I do clothing and I make things. I know the time that it takes to make stuff, and I know how difficult those things are. I'm also not necessarily in tune, but I like to know what goes on in the world, and I know that places like supermarkets are really undercutting farmers and their suppliers, because they want the profit first. And I know that, you know, our agricultural industry is struggling heavily because farmers just don't get paid what they're worth, and I don't know how on earth they're surviving, to be honest with you. When you watch programs like This Farming Life and Country File, it's just oh my God, I'm amazed we have any agricultural industry left at all now. So that's a bit of a juxtaposition for me, because I need things as cheaply as possible, but I know that by doing that, I'm not helping industry. And I don't know how to deal with that. The only way I can deal with that is by earning a lot more money and paying a lot more for things, and maybe going direct to producers rather than, you know, cut out supermarkets entirely. But that's not a practical option. And at the moment, with a, you know, like a really minimal food budget, I am pretty much buying everything on a discount or a yellow sticker or whatever. And I know that that must be having a knock-on effect for our industry. And I don't know how to resolve that. I mean, I could say, well, I'll just grow all my own veg, but then I'm not paying anybody anything. I'm completely bypassing agriculture. And I do grow a few things of my own. Once spring starts to kick in, I'll show you what I do with my own growing, because I love gardening. I don't have a garden, but I love gardening, and I found ways around it that work for me on a very limited scale, but it's still fun, and I still get to produce things that I can eat and what have you. So yeah, when the weather starts to change, I'll show you a bit of that, and that's all good fun, and that's exciting because, you know, spring will be here soon, and I've already started planting some of my first seeds. I've already put my tomatoes in. I start things off on my windowsills indoors because I have really wide windowsills here, and I start them all off indoors because it's like a greenhouse, and then I put them outside when the weather's, you know, okay and things are big enough. So that's all good fun. So I'm really looking forward to spring this year and starting to grow some stuff again.